Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Once Upon a Lime Storytime with the Besties. And today we have Miss Jan. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you on for season two.
Woot
We,
woot.
um, okay, I'll start with a question. Do you
Okay.
remember when we first met?
Okay, so I remember your first day at work and I remember going down into the elevator. We
Okay.
were going down to I was still new as
Yeah,
well, so I wasn't the one
like a month.
shadowing you. Yeah, I was literally I don't even think it was a full month. I think it
Mm.
was just shy of a full month that I had been there.
Do you remember your date?
Oh god.
It's
I
okay if you don't,
think
because,
I want to say September 9th,
okay,
but I'm not 100% sure.
because that was October 4th. I don't know why I remember that, but every year on October 4th, I get like a little emo about
Oh,
it.
I think it was September 9th. I think it was
Okay.
9/9. Yeah.
Ooh.
But I just remember, we're all going down the
Mhm.
elevator to start the day, whatever.
Mhm.
And I remember saying "Oh, something it's so nice to have someone who's
Aw.
new because I'm new as well, so I feel like we
Yeah.
can learn it together." I
Yeah.
remember something to that effect, and I feel like we were both just so willing to find a place. And
Mhm.
I think it definitely, at least from my perspective, it felt easier because I felt like I had a comrade in
Yeah.
arms to
Aw.
learn stuff. Not that the workplace at the time was unwelcoming, but it
Yeah.
felt less scary
Yeah.
because I had a peer who was also just kind of, learning everything like I
Mhm.
was.
Yeah. I don't remember the first moment, but my first memory was when it was, I believe it was my second day when actually did the walkthrough. Because I feel like the first day was all talking and like PowerPoints and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And with the trainer. And then the second day was like actually on the job training. And I
Hmm.
remember we were behind you in the rotation. You were picking up like the crayons or whatever for the activity that we had upstairs
Okay.
in the building. And the trainer being like, "Oh, thank you so much, Jan," in his like very specific voice that he would talk in.
Hmm.
And I just remember being like, "Oh my god, she's so put together. Look at her cleaning up and like being proactive about things." But I remember. Uh, good, thank you.
Thank you.
Your Amazon is here. Anyways, but I feel like it was like a few days later that we were like already friends.
Yeah.
Like it
I
was
it
immediate.
just felt it wasn't like a thing like, "Oh, we're gonna be friends." It
No.
was it was more like I think the feeling was like, "Oh, hey," like once we realized, well, I guess once you realized that
Yeah.
I was I knew I was new, but you didn't know. But I think once, the mutual understanding that we were both kind
Yeah.
of new and still getting used to
Mhm.
everything, there was just that magnetic we're in
Yeah.
this together.
Exactly.
So it wasn't like a formal, "Oh, let's be friends." It's
No.
more like we just gravitated towards each other.
Exactly.
And I like to refer to this time as our freshman year.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, when I was thinking about recording today's episode, I was like, okay, what do we? Because Jan and I have like been through some things,
oh yeah.
and I was like, how do we talk about it without being like specific or like burning bridges or
Mhm.
anything? So I don't know how much you wanted to talk about that because that was a part of our friendship. Was like
I mean, a
going through
lot of it
the
was definitely, this sort of I feel like I'm going to keep going to camaraderie because it really was
yeah,
this, almost like a teamwork type thing where sometimes it really did feel like it was us against
it
this
did.
faceless, entity
Yes.
at that place of work,
Yeah.
where we are obviously educated and
Mhm.
very aware individuals. And when
Yeah.
we realize that, you know, like once the sheen and the shine kind of melts
Yep.
away, we're seeing sort of the cracks
Mhm.
of this organization.
Yeah.
And, we were not satisfied with just going along with it.
Mhm.
And we saw how others others being like other coworkers who
Mhm.
had been there for some time, and we saw how it did negatively affect them.
Yeah.
And you know, I think you and I are of the opinion of we criticize something not because we dislike it, but because we
Exactly.
do love it and we do
We care.
appreciate it and we want it to be the best possible version of
Mhm.
itself. And we felt that after having worked there for several months into a year,
Mhm.
there were cracks, and we thought, oh, maybe we could be the change,
Yeah.
but it didn't always work out the way that we
Yes.
intended.
Exactly. I feel like that was a really good PC way of explaining
this
all of that without
the
being too
very
specific.
very general, but also I feel like a lot of people can, what's the word, like they can, I guess, empathize with
Mhm.
a similar work
Oh, yeah.
situation where, I feel like most people, they can start a position very excited
Yeah.
and very like just open-eyed, and then as you continue in an organization, you do notice patterns, and
Mhm.
you either continue to like it or you continue to question things. And I
Yeah.
think as we continue to question things, it seems like everything we tried to do within our capacity that was appropriate just didn't seem to work. And I think
Mm-mm.
that's when, from our freshman year into like our senior year, that's when we
Yeah.
started just, you know, it became more of a job and less of like, I'm happy to be here to work here type thing.
Yes. And represent the brand too, because that was a
Mhm.
big part of it. And towards the end, it was just like, I'm just tired. Like,
Yeah.
I can't I can't be my like customer service self anymore. I was just
It's
like,
it
oh
was it was definitely difficult to be genuine
yeah.
with interactions with, I guess, with guests and
Mhm.
with other with other employees who weren't in our department on our team.
Yeah.
It was difficult to be truly genuine because we realized there was an element of like two-facedness. Like, I know that's not a word, but you know what
It
I
is
mean? Like,
now.
it's that vibe where, everyone has a front, when on the other hand, everyone's thinking, like, we all know that there's a bit of shit under the rug. But I think
Mhm.
it got to the point where if you keep sweeping stuff under the rug, you're going to have a big pile of shit. And I think,
Exactly.
it got to that point where it's like,
Yeah.
you know,
And so I don't have it pulled up, but we did joke about starting a podcast, like when we
yes.
were in the thick of it,
Mhm.
and what all these episodes that we were going to talk about and expose the shit out of everything that was going on.
Mhm.
One of my favorites was all the times that like 911 was called.
Yeah, like the fire department was called.
And like all the times that like the police or the fire department like
Mhm.
showed up.
Mhm.
It was unreal how
Yeah.
many
You're
times.
like, "Why is this happening?" Like,
It's like we weren't a place like a huge institution where it was like we had a lot like thousands of people coming in and out and like things are bound to happen. It was like I felt like we were kind of small, and
mhm.
for them to be called that many times, it was bizarre.
Especially in the span of like the 3 something ish years we were there.
Exactly.
It was like almost every quarter there was something going
A
on.
crisis. And I was just like, what? And like oh my gosh, it was just ridiculous. The amount of times the power went off.
Yeah.
Like what? And the elevator was always breaking.
And it
All
was
these
like the
things. It was
single elevator. Like, come on. So, I remember one time, I don't remember why the fire department showed up, but they showed up, and our manager,
oh, I do remember this.
she was just freaking out
Yeah.
because we had to communicate by radio, like
Yeah.
our department and everyone on our team.
Which I
And
miss. I actually really like that.
yeah. And I remember she couldn't even locate people because I think long story short, certain people weren't following protocol.
Yeah.
So when our manager was trying to touch base and keep track of where everyone was, she just had no clue. And of course, like, unless you witness someone pulling the fire alarm
Yeah.
accidentally or intentionally,
Oh,
but
yes, that did happen. I remember that.
yeah.
It was on
But
fire. Oh my god.
thankfully, all the instances where the fire department showed up, it was a false alarm. It was usually an accident. But
Or like someone was having like a medical something. It
yes,
wasn't ever
it
like
it
it
was
was on
never like
fire.
we had exactly. It was never like we needed to evacuate the premises for safety. But when the fire alarm goes off, you don't know that in that moment. You
Exactly.
just follow the
And you
training
mhm.
and you go to your designated area, but the problem was people weren't following protocols and it
No.
was and it was just a mess. It's like why do we have protocols in place when people don't
Yeah.
follow them?
I think it was I don't think it was that time, but it was one of the last times that we had a situation. I was going into the break room to take my break, and it was like a late break. And I'm to this day very strict about, okay, it's time for my break. Like, I'm going to go relax, unplug for my 15 allotted minutes. And I walked into the break room. I'm not even kidding you. My butt was like 1 inch off the chair, and the fire alarm goes off. And I was just like, fuck me. I'm like, okay, guys, here's the emergency exit. Like, we need to all
We need
go
to go.
down and get out.
And that was like an interesting thing too because I remember at one point I don't know if you were with me, but I was on like the 3rd floor
Hmm.
and the fire alarm or whatever went off and I just made to move and I'm looking around the office and
Yeah.
people are like, should I bring my laptop? Can I bring my purse? It's like, let's go. We don't know why it went off. Just if you need it, then I guess bring it. But like let's move. And then
Yeah.
people were waiting for the elevator. I'm like, hello?
Oh my God.
Like, what is going on?
I remember our manager complaining about that.
It's
Like,
just
she's like, people.
like let's go. We don't know why
Yeah.
it's ringing, but like if
Yeah.
that was like a true emergency, y'all are just
You're effed.
yeah.
Yeah, because the time that I was in the break room, that stairwell that we got to go down was the emergency exit only stairwell. So I was like,
Mhm.
"Ooh, we're in the special
We're in
staircase
the
now."
special
Yeah,
stairs. Yeah.
nobody's walked in these before.
Oh boy.
Good times.
Oh, I remember another common instance where for some reason, like I feel like the layout of I mean, we would get guests and I feel like the layout of how you're supposed to walk through is to me it was very obvious, like
Hmm.
where you should go and where you shouldn't go.
Yeah.
And obviously there's signage as well and people like to ignore signage and they would go through the door that led to the exit route and then they
Yeah.
would try to actually exit the building and
Oh
then
my
that would
God.
also um cause the fire alarm or
Yeah.
whatever to go off and then it's so
Jesus.
yeah it's
A journey. Yeah.
yeah,
Big sigh.
I mean keep it interesting I
This is
guess.
true. This is true. It was always had to be something. And it was close to when before the pandemic that the power, like the transformer blew or something.
Yeah,
And the power went out in where we were at,
I remember it was a
and they sent us
Sunday
home.
and it
Yeah,
was
we were like blessed. So we went to the new Shake Shack.
yeah. We were like, hey, it's early, let's get lunch, let's go to
Yeah.
Shake Shack.
It just opened. Let's go. That was fun. It
That
was
was
convenient that it was a
mhm.
weekend and you drove
Yes. Yeah,
and
I
you could do
mean,
that.
I think it's really telling where, if I mean, obviously, I feel like most people would prefer to be at home or doing something fun than
Hmm.
being at work. But I feel like it's really telling when normally the weekends were a more fun time to be at
Yeah.
work. When we were like, thank God we're leaving work early because of
Yeah.
this power outage.
Oh my god, when I got the phone call from HR that the it was closing for the pandemic, or we didn't know it was a pandemic at the time,
Hmm.
but it was closing because of a virus and someone had tested positive. I literally was screaming. I was so excited.
I
And
was like,
that's a big
I
red
can
flag.
rest. I
Yes.
can just sleep in. Like I can have time for my. It felt healing. It
Yes.
was just healing. I was like, what do you mean we don't need to go in?
And so for like probably maybe 10 days, it was like exciting,
Hmm.
and then it turned into like, oh shit, okay, this is actually
Oh, this
real.
is actually like very
Because
serious.
we got told to go home like March like 4th.
Very early.
So
Yes,
it was definitely before
it was before the
everyone else was
official
going home.
lockdowns of the city.
I
Yeah,
was
because I think it was March 10th or 11th was like the official
Yeah.
citywide
I remember St.
lockdown.
Patrick's Day being like a day that we were like, oh shit, like we're inside.
Hmm. Yeah, it was a very wild and fast and furious time. I remember we had a new manager that had just started. I think I
Literally
worked
2 days.
yes, I worked with her for like 2 days, and then based on how like our time off at, like our daily
Yeah.
whatever time off was, like 2 days off in the middle of the week. And then, the email, "Oh, like don't come in."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay." And then
Sweet.
we got another email like, "Oh, like
Don't come
don't
in for
come
2
in on the
weeks.
weekend. We're going to
Yeah.
deal with this." And then rest is history.
I know. Yeah, you can text me if you want the real version. But we'll keep it off the pod of, like,
Yeah.
what happened
Yeah.
the
We'll
rest of the
we'll
time.
keep it PC,
Exactly.
you know.
But we had some good times, obviously,
Mhm.
especially, like you're saying, freshman year. One of the things that still to this day cracks me up so much was there was, like, 2 other people that had started before you that were
Mhm.
kind of in our class,
Yes.
per se, for keeping with the school theme. And one of them, he I went to go, like, in the rotation to get him at one of the positions, and he was literally talking on his phone.
Mhm.
And I'm like, "What are you
What?
doing?"
And this isn't like before we open. It was literally
The
we were
public
yeah, Publix here.
the public's here, like, he's in arguably one of the more important positions,
Mhm.
and he's just on his phone. We had a no phone policy on the
I
floor.
mean, to be fair, no guests were in the vicinity,
True.
but it was still a very visible position where a guest or a manager or anyone else could have just
Yeah.
shown up, and he was just on his
So
phone.
brazen.
So
Just
casual.
And it was a conversation with, like, it wasn't an emergency or anything. He
Yeah.
just I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, it's fine." Like, that he's, like, moving like, a hand motion, like, "Oh, don't worry about it." I'm like,
Yeah.
"What?"
And like we're still new, so to us this is
Yeah,
like,
you're breaking the rules.
what are you talking about? Like you're on your phone during work hours?
Yeah.
Like, oh
There were
gosh.
some definite characters that we worked with, and I loved it. Like,
Mhm.
99% of, like, our team, amazing humans.
Exactly.
And you know
Yeah.
who you are.
Mhm.
But that was definitely in the early days, and those 2 people left, I feel like, right away.
Yeah, I don't even think like, because we started sort of like end of Q3 into Q4 type,
Yeah.
if you're thinking of like at what point in the year,
Mhm.
and I don't even think they finished the year with us.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
So I'm bummed that I didn't get to know them more, but
It
it
is
it,
it is what it
it
is,
was a
and
high turnover place.
yes.
So that was just the
Unfortunately
indicator.
so,
Yeah.
because for the most part, as Emily said, like 99% of the people stellar
Yeah.
people, like amazing personalities, super fun, like relatable people. But as capable and as great these people were, I think that just was a testament to, you could only take so much
Mhm.
of the organization, and like just the structure of
Yeah.
the systems in place.
Yeah.
And and there was unfortunately a high turnover rate, but it didn't seem that the powers that be cared,
No.
because they were relying on the brand recognition and the
Mhm.
nostalgia that people had. So instead of investing in people that genuinely care
Mhm.
about the institution, and people that, like they actually do their job well,
Mhm.
you couldn't retain those people for long,
No.
because wool would be pulled from their eyes,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day there wasn't much incentive,
No.
because at the time
Just the brand
it
was
was
the
just the
thing.
brand, and then
Keeping
it's not
people
like
working
you
there.
were making bank to like
No.
make it worth it. I mean, for me, I was commuting, you know
Insane.
an hour and a half each morning to
Oh
get
my
to work, and
god.
it got to a point where it's like, why am I doing this,
Yeah.
where basically by senior year it's like I have a long commute.
Mhm.
i
We were so jaded.
I was just, exactly, it's like the compensation, it pays bills, but it's nothing to write home about.
Yeah.
Like the management after our favorite gal
Mhm.
manager left, like,
Mhm.
was just not looking bright.
Oof.
And it was hard, so I feel like, you know
Yeah, but also, like, props to them that they were just like, "I'm done. I found something else. I'm doing something different because I didn't get that choice because I was still
I
hanging
think
on."
yeah, I think, that's if I have to talk about like regrets or anything,
Mhm.
was, you know, I think you and I, Emily, we were at that point of just kind of like fishing, seeing what
Oh,
was out
yeah.
there. But ultimately, just with like how everything happened with lockdown and
Mhm.
pandemic, and eventually, like, being let go, because the choice of
Mhm.
how we got to exit was taken from us, I think
Mhm.
that will always be just a little point of, I guess, like sadness or bitterness
Yeah.
where, like, yeah, we are happier and better off compared
Oh,
to
absolutely.
back then. But whenever we reminisce, there will just be that little tinge
Mhm.
of, sadness because we didn't get
Yeah.
to go on our terms.
Exactly. Because I was thinking that, and it was a lot of resentment when we first got laid off, because I was just like, I wanted my resignation letter written. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I wanted an exit interview. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted a going away party, as like selfish as that sounds, but I
Yeah.
wanted people to be sad that I was leaving.
Yes. I wanted
And
people
that
to recognize that I did leave a mark here, that
exactly.
we we did do our best and to be recognized for it because I know our team recognized it,
Yeah.
surely. But like to everyone else to
Yeah.
like take a moment of their day to
Mhm.
just be like,
Thank
"Hey,
you.
thank you." Because, and that was a point of issue too, was there was a lot of, us versus them mentality
Mhm.
because we were of the team that dealt with the day to day.
Yeah.
We were the ones, basically, for lack of better
Front
word, we
facing.
were running the place on the daily.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was really disheartening when the people behind the scenes, they were really so far removed
They were, and that
from
was a
the
big issue.
from the day to day, but they reaped the
Yeah.
benefits. And that was, so yeah, when you say that we really just deserve that final moment and it was
Mhm.
just taken from us.
Yeah. But we've moved on.
We've moved
Thank
on.
goodness.
Yeah.
It was like our kind of villain origin story, I feel like
Yeah.
part of it.
Mhm.
Just that's where we started, now we're here. We've grown from then, cuz it's been almost 3 years,
Yeah.
which is as long as we worked there.
It's
So,
actually pretty wild when you put it that
yeah,
way.
cuz that's what bothered me even when I was ready to quit. I'm like, on my resume, it looks like I worked here for 2.5 years.
Mhm.
I literally feel like I was here for 30. Like,
Yeah.
the amount of blood, sweat, and tears that went into working there, I
Mhm.
was just
It
like,
felt so much longer.
I can't just quit after 2.5 years. That looks like nothing.
Mhm.
But it had, I mean, they let me go, so I didn't have a choice. But
Mhm.
it had to happen.
Yeah. And
Ay, ay,
we're
ay.
better off for it.
Yeah.
I think mentally we're, I
Oh,
mean, in better places.
way.
I know both of us have much better commutes compared to,
Oh my God.
which is such a big deal
Blessed.
in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Blessed. When I was looking at jobs, I was like, okay, well, do I want to try working in the city again? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was applying to like some other places that were like adjacent to what we had been doing
Yeah.
there. And, you know, again, this was kind of after things were slowly starting to open up. And I'm like, because I was working part time at the time.
Hmm.
So I was like kind of looking as things were opening up. I'm like, but I got so used to just being at home
Yeah.
and working from home. So then I started to shift more towards, can I continue this work from home but in a full-time capacity?
Hmm.
And I was lucky to have been able to do so.
Hell yeah.
So,
Yeah. My
yeah.
commute's like in the mornings, no, because I leave really early in the morning, I can get it to be like 9 minutes. Coming home, it's more like 14.
I mean, that's like
Compared
nothing
to when I
though.
was working over there, it was like coming home was the worst. It usually was an hour, which is like so short compared to so many other people.
Mhm.
But I was like, but I live so
You do
close.
live so close. And
But
then
it's the traffic, and that's what always bothered me. I was just like, I just sit in my car on the road with other people. Like,
mhm.
for
Parking lot.
oh my God, it killed my soul along with
Yeah.
other things that were happening. But that was not an easy thing to like just go, okay, I'm gonna go home and sit in traffic again.
mhm.
Jesus.
Yeah, I definitely, our work life balance has improved so much,
Yeah. I'm happy for us.
and it's just nice because we can enjoy that time doing other
Mm-hmm.
things. I feel like
Exactly.
even during the freshman year and everything was
Mm-hmm.
great, at this workplace, it was still very difficult because I was commuting almost 2 hours each way.
Mhm.
And, if that's like almost 4 hours out of my
That's
day,
wild.
I didn't want to do anything when I got
Yeah.
home. And on my weekends, quote unquote, which weren't Saturday and Sunday, by the way,
Yeah,
but on
that
my
that
days
was rough.
off, I couldn't, it's just
Rest.
rest. I felt like it just wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely better now.
Big shout out to people that work with the public, because I
Hmm.
still work with the public and it's exhausting. The older I get, the more it wears me out.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, so props to you if you work with the public. And
Mega props if you work on Saturdays and Sundays.
exactly. To
We feel for
Oh my
you.
gosh, yes.
Like, I feel like people, when they're out of that situation, they forget so easily. But I still
Yeah.
think on that. Like, people working in service or like front of house type
Yep.
positions, we salute you.
Exactly. Especially before, like, working at Disneyland and stuff and working holidays.
Oh,
Mad
man.
respect for people that have to do that. Yes, first responders, of course, but I feel like they get the praise. But it's
Hmm.
other people too, grocery store, like,
They are essential people,
yeah, I
like,
mean, that the pandemic
yeah.
definitely showed us that too, but
But
it continues. Like, it's
yes.
not just what am I even trying to say? There's a lot of people out there that have to work
Hmm.
at unfavorable times,
Yeah.
and I
I
appreciate
think it's
you.
just perspective and just being, just being more mindful and like,
Mhm.
just we appreciate you and like
Yeah.
just for people to
Yeah.
acknowledge that. I feel like at the end of the day, you know, I feel like who used to work in a service or front of house
Mhm.
type position based on how they treat those people when they
Exactly.
encounter them
That's
themselves.
exactly it. And yeah, you can definitely the people that come from privilege and didn't have to put their time in of, like,
Hmm.
working at a restaurant, working at a, retail space.
How about travel? I know we were kind of talking about
Yes.
travel
Oh my
before
gosh.
we turned on
We
the
did.
mics.
What
So
do you have anything booked for this year?
I don't have anything booked.
We got a dream board
I
going.
have yes, I
Okay.
have like the vision board. Um we were talking about like earlier we were talking about how we're kind of hoping for one last cold spell before like
Oh my god,
full-blown
please.
summer
Yeah.
just kind of kicks off in California. And cuz for me personally, I feel like I've already experienced summer. I was fortunate to have visited family,
Yeah.
living in Asia, and the weather is just it was basically summer. So I feel like I already got a taste of that, and I'm so happy to just be wearing jackets and coats
Me
and
too.
sweaters and things, and I'm not really ready to let that go yet.
Oh.
But yeah, like as far as travel is concerned, I hope to, visit some friends.
Yeah. It's always a good excuse to, like,
Yeah,
book a
like
trip.
in the Pacific Northwest, and then I have a friend doing a graduate program in New York City. I actually haven't
Love.
been to the East Coast yet.
Ever in your
Criminal
life?
in my
How have
life.
I not known this about you?
I
Oh my
feel
god.
yeah. So I need to get I have not been east of Nevada, I think. I'm like a West Coast girly through and through.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
but you've been, like, really far away. You've been to the Philippines. So it's like
Yes.
you make up
I
for it in
mean,
other
I've been
ways.
like several international locations, so I guess like I make
Yeah.
up for it that way. But
In the
but
US, not a
yeah, in
lot.
the US, I would definitely I feel like now it's more like we're learning to live with COVID. It's
Yeah.
just one of those things where be responsible, be
Mhm.
respectful, but to live your life.
Yeah,
Like,
you have
you
to.
can't keep everything on pause. So if you just take precautions, be safe, be
Yeah.
smart. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to more like I guess domestic travel.
Love that.
Hoping to get back to Asia at some point this year.
It's a good goal to have.
Philippines, maybe Japan or Korea. So we'll see,
Love, love, love.
Just save that money.
I know, it's all
Save
about the
that
coin.
PTO.
That too. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so
How about you?
I'm going on a secret trip this week that, if you know, you know. Canada for my birthday. We're going
Ooh.
to Calgary and Banff National Park. I wanted to go to the Rockies. So I was
Mm.
like, give me some really tall mountains.
Get you in nature on your birthday.
Exactly, because I was like, I went so hard for my 29th birthday. I was like, for 30, I literally just want zen.
Hmm.
I'm like, I want to start the new decade, like,
Kind of
relaxed.
like the theme of the next
Exactly.
10 years.
Exactly. So I'm just like, I want peace. And so that's what we're doing, a nature birthday.
I actually really love that.
Yeah.
I love theming that. That's actually
Yeah.
really smart. So, yeah, my 30th birthday unfortunately was
The very beginning of the
pandemic.
pandemic.
So, I feel like now is the time I'm able to like really get to do things that
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do. Last year I was lucky to travel a little bit more as well, but that
Yeah.
was me following my K-pop group around.
Hey,
But
if that's what you,
yeah, it was fun, went on tour, so that was fun.
yeah.
But I feel like as things are opening up
Mm-hmm.
again, there's just more opportunity and more people are getting comfortable, so
Yeah.
you don't have to travel alone. You can travel with family or friends
Yeah.
or meet up with family or friends. So
Mm-hmm.
there's just a lot, and there goes
Ooh.
my alarm.
Hell yeah.
It's just a day
It's all good. Is that
with
like,
all of our.
what music is that?
So that's actually for all you nerds out there. That's the victory theme for Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, because I'm like, this sounds
It's
very
a
video game.
fanfare. Yes, it's very video game.
Okay. What else do I have planned? Tahoe for just the weekend coming up, which I'm happy about. I love Tahoe. That's kind of it for 2023.
I mean, we're almost. Yeah, we are basically done with Q3. We're in Q2 now, and
Q1.
oh
We're
my
in
god,
Q2.
We are in Q2 right now. Q1 just passed. Look at me, like I'm just fast forwarding the year, y'all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it's just zooming by.
It really is. I mm. I'm like, damn. But for me, like looking back on previous years, the start of the year is always like time goes by so fast and I'm not really doing a lot. But then
Yeah.
once like spring hits and once it's like May, I feel like I really start
I
to get
feel
out
like
there.
I've settled into the year once like April or May kind of
Yeah.
rolls around. I feel like to me, New Year's season lasts
Hmm.
at least until Easter.
Well, and it's like raining and it's winter and it's dark. And so it's just like,
Especially this year.
yes.
Like we had to get used to rain
Oh,
again.
honey.
I was like, what is going
I
on?
know. That was too, okay. It wasn't too much, but it was a lot. Let me just say
It was a
that.
lot for what we were used to
Yeah.
because hello drought.
It
So
it was it seemed like once a week. It was like, okay, here's another Pineapple Express. Here's another atmospheric river.
I couldn't
Jesus.
wash my car for the longest
It was
time
nice.
because it was just like, oh, it's gonna rain in 2 days. I'm like, well, why am I gonna wash my
Again.
car?
Yeah.
I finally washed my car yesterday.
Because it's been 2 weeks since it's rained.
Yes.
Oh jeez. So I'm looking forward to just good vibes only this year, I
Hmm.
think.
Good vibes
I
only.
say that all the time, but
Hmm.
I'm serious this year.
Yeah.
I'll be serious.
We're gonna manifest it
Yeah,
to
well,
be.
and I've like gone out of my way to make plans with people, even if it's super far away.
Hmm.
So I'm like, okay, in 2 months, what are you doing?
I feel like though that's just something we need to just do. I feel
Yeah.
like especially now we are just. I mean, I don't want to make us sound old, but we're not like in school or something,
Yeah.
right? Where we see our friends for the most part every day or almost
Hmm.
every day. A lot of us, because especially with you and I, we're not working together at the same workplace
Yeah.
anymore, and we don't live in the immediate
Yeah.
vicinity of each other. It does take a bit of planning. So,
Hmm.
like it might sound silly to like have to schedule people in, but if that's what it takes,
Yeah. And I've joked with my brother about this. It's like when I say let's hang out, people sometimes think I mean like today or like this weekend. I'm like, no, no, no. When I say let's hang out, I'm saying let's get in
let's
three
make a
weeks, in
plan.
6 weeks, let's get it in the schedule because for some reason my like social life gets booked up. So I'm like,
Mhm.
let's make a point instead of it just being like, oh, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. I'm
Mhm.
busy with you.
Yes. Because we already made the plans. But if you
Yeah.
I mean, for me personally, I can't be as spontaneous as I used to be. I also feel like I need to mentally prepare myself.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a real thing.
even before pandemic and COVID, me personally, I was the type of person where if someone would say, "Oh, let's get dinner," I'd be like, "Okay, let's get dinner in like 2 days." They're like, "No, let's get dinner like tonight." I'm like,
Yeah.
and I swear to God, even if I didn't have any plans, I'd be like, I can't. Because I wasn't mentally prepared. It wasn't like
Yeah.
on my mental to-do list
Yeah.
to like, so
You have to know yourself. So it's like
yeah.
if you know that that's not it, like good for you for having that boundary.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
so
people this is a big thing now, like, people don't need to ask follow-up questions to a no.
mhm.
Like, "Can we get dinner?" "No." "Well, why not? Are you busy? Do you have other plans?" Like, no is a no.
Yeah, it's like I don't need to elaborate. It's
No.
just I can't.
Or, "I don't
Period.
want to." Like,
Yeah.
that's valid. I mean,
I
that's
know
shittier, but
I mean, I guess like we're like polite about it. Like you don't
yeah.
want to say that.
No.
But it's like if that's what you're thinking, it's like, well, why do I need to justify myself?
Yeah.
Like maybe I am busy or maybe I had my own whatever planned,
Or you're
you
going through
know?
something, like,
Yeah,
that's valid.
And I feel like too I'm just thinking of that meme where it's like, sorry I'm late, I didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
Where it's like I feel like people can sense if you're not 100% present, if you're just showing
Yeah.
up.
And I don't wanna hang out with you if you're like that.
Yeah, it's
I
you
want the
know,
best you
yeah.
when we hang out. I don't
Mhm.
want you to feel obligated. At least this is for me and my friends. I don't know how other people deal with other people, but I don't want you to feel like it's an obligation to hang out with me. Like, I
Mhm.
want us to have intentional
There's a
time together.
mutual there's the mutual want to like catch up and
Yeah,
to hang out and to do
exactly.
whatever.
And if someone cancels on me or if someone says, like, I can't, I'm never mad at them.
Mhm.
I'm disappointed at because I wanted to hang out with them, but
Mhm.
it's not the feeling is not directed to that person. It's
Yeah.
about the situation.
Yeah.
So it's like, "Oh, like, I have to cancel my whatever, my grandma's coming into town or something." It's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, bummer," but, like, we'll make another date,
Yeah.
you know?
That
It's
actually happened
okay.
for our podcast. We were supposed to meet up I think a couple weeks ago,
Exactly.
but I unexpectedly had family coming through
Okay,
because
maybe I'm talking about this situation. I'm like, "Wait, that's too
but
similar."
no, it's like yeah, it's sad, but we look at the date
Reschedule.
books and
Yeah.
we do it, so we're here and it's great.
Yeah, and we're recording the podcast, gonna be in season 2.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, I don't
I
know,
feel like sometimes spontaneity is overrated. I mean, I feel like there's a time and place. There's definitely a time and
yeah,
place for
that's
it,
true.
but like just depending on your situation, what you're doing, where you're working, where you're
Yeah.
living, like if you need to
Your
go out of
financial
your way
situation too.
to make plans, then
Mhm.
just do it
Yeah.
because like I mean, look at us. Like we
Look
haven't
at
worked
us.
together in years,
Yeah.
but we're still like friends. We're still
Mhm.
like we want to be in each other's lives, and
Exactly.
it is a
Aw,
little sad that we don't get to see each other as often, even though we
definitely.
do live, you know, I wouldn't say an easy distance, but a reasonable distance.
Yeah.
But it does still take time,
Mhm.
and it's always fun when you can just we're gonna do it. We're gonna make the
Yeah.
time and work it out,
Yeah.
and I feel like all these factors come into play, but when it comes
Mhm.
to fruition, you're really just like,
Yeah.
this is why you're my people.
Oh
You
my
know?
gosh. Yeah.
So,
So true. Going back to the, before of like somebody inviting you to dinner tonight and you're like, I can't.
yeah.
Pre-pandemic, I was overextended. I was
Mm,
always doing stuff. I was always hanging out with people because I was just like, let's just fill the time with like good things
mhm.
so I don't have time to think about anything else that's going on. And that drained me. So when the
Mm,
pandemic happened, my social battery had like a reset.
yeah.
And now I cannot do that. I'm like,
Mm.
if I make plans in December, I accidentally booked myself for 10 days straight of
Oh,
like something every single day,
I
including the
couldn't.
work on the weekdays.
Oh.
On the last day, I was like, I gotta go into a hole and I have to like just spend some time alone and
It's just
like
I just wanna be in my
with the
room
lights
and not
off.
leave for 12 hours.
Exactly.
Like
Just need a minute. Because it was too much. But I'm like, how did I used to do this? Like the youth? Like it
Mhm.
wasn't like it was that
It
long
was the
ago.
youth.
Yeah.
I mean,
Young people energy.
I think for me, what it was, I'm like, I used to be a serial commuter where I was always going into the city because I never lived in the city.
Yeah.
So I was always commuting. If it wasn't for
For
university, then it
school,
was for
yeah.
work. So I feel like for me, it was very difficult being
Yeah.
spontaneous after, I mean, I guess high school because I was always having to factor in, well, what day is
Mhm.
it? am I taking like the train that day or am I driving that
That's
day?
the
Like,
thing. Yeah, your public
it
transportation.
it takes me like X amount of time to get from home to wherever. Like,
Mhm.
if I take this, outing, if I accept going here, how much more time? So I feel like there
Yeah.
was always a level of mental calculation that I had to
Yeah.
go through that for me personally, it was difficult to be
Mhm.
spontaneous because I always had these other
Yeah.
factors.
Well, and when you're taking the train, like safety then becomes an issue.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, well, I can't be taking the train too late in the day because that's
Mhm.
too sketchy for me to be commuting by myself.
At night, yeah. So
Oy.
what a time,
I know.
but I think, when I was able to plan something and
Mhm.
when we were able to do
It was
something, especially
special.
especially back then, when we were at the same workplace, it really was like more special because it was
Yeah.
really something I looked forward to because it was, that little bit that was just
Yeah.
out of the ordinary with like people I enjoyed
Yeah, we're
being
like,
around.
Jan's coming.
You're like, I'm
Jan's
finally
coming.
here. She's
The
here.
the one that comes to mind was Cal Academy when we did the nightlife.
Oh, yeah, the
The
Star Wars
Star Wars
night. That
one.
was so fun.
It was.
That
I
was
remember you drove me. We went to pizza
mhm.
at Avellino's.
I think it was Avellino's, yeah.
As I couldn't remember if that was the name of it. So good, pizza by the slice.
Mhm.
You drove us to there, and I braided my hair in the car when you were driving, and we
Mhm.
got there, and you're like, "What? Did you just do that?" You're like my hype woman. You're
Yeah.
like, "What? That
You're
looks
like,
so
"You look
good."
so good."
I was
I
like,
mean,
"Yeah,
I'm
I just did
driving, so
it."
I'm not, like, looking at her, like, as we're going from point A to point B, and
Yeah.
then I was like, "Oh my god, you just turned into Leia." Like, "What?"
And then we had our pizza, we had our bonding time, and then we went to Cal Academy, and it was like, "Oh my god, Jan's here, Jan's with
I
us."
know.
And we had the best
It was
time.
so fun. I mean, I s I look at pictures sometimes, like, just from back then, we look so happy.
I know.
Like,
Aw.
and it's just, that it was December
Yeah.
2019, so I feel like not that we didn't have, like, fun times afterward, but that was definitely, like, one of the last
Yeah,
handful of quote unquote "fun times" before, like, the lockdown. So,
exactly.
I feel like those kinds of outings, I
Mhm.
definitely, like, really cherish them,
Yeah.
and, if we can make something similar like that happen again, it's always a good time,
Yeah.
you know?
And another time was so this is a great freshman to senior year moment
Transition.
was the Oscar short thing that we went
Oh,
to.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we went to when we first were friends, we
Mhm.
went to the Oscars. How Oscars shorts? I don't
Like, the
like
Oscars
I feel like I'm
animated
saying it wrong.
shorts.
And okay, there we go. Nominated for an Oscar.
Mhm.
Short
Animated
animated
shorts
film.
nominated for an Oscar.
I'm
Why is this so
I'm
difficult?
a mess. And it was hosted by somebody. He has the best name.
Yeah, it was just very stereotypical, like, Hollywood famous person name.
So funny. And so we found out his name, and then I was like, well, we have to get tickets to this event.
Yeah.
Like, we
Like,
have to.
we can't not go.
And I remember seeing him be like, that's the guy. That's the guy with the name. So then when that event came back towards the end of, honestly, it was like 2019 or 2020.
Yeah, it was 2020.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I think
God.
February
Oh
2020.
my
Yeah,
God.
I know.
I was like, we have to get tickets. And we
Mhm.
took a recreation picture of when we first went and then when we went that last time. And
Mhm.
I love doing stuff like that. But
Yeah, I love,
I
like,
was like, look at
recreating
us.
photos and, from freshman year to senior
And
year.
you wrote that on there. And I was like,
Mhm.
literally. And then we graduated.
Mhm. I mean, we didn't know we were gonna graduate,
We
but we
didn't,
graduated.
but we did.
Oh, with that chartreuse
Oy,
paint.
behind us.
Oh.
We did it. It's a really cute picture of the three of us.
Mhm. Yeah.
No,
Shout out to Jenna.
I
Miss
know.
you, girl. We'll see you later.
Yeah,
Like,
really.
literally in a couple of
Literally.
hours.
Literally for dinner. We're gonna see you. We love you. Shenanigans. Do you okay? So it was April Fool's not that long ago, and
Mhm.
I'm like, I hate pranks. I
Same.
hate pranks.
I just don't like getting surprised.
So what I do love is a little light scare. And I was like, my favorite thing would be to pretend to be a customer at a certain place
Oh.
and go, "Excuse me?" But then that got escalated a little bit, and we did like full out like scare people.
Oh my
And so there
gosh.
was a few times where you're on the receiving end of a
Mm-hmm.
scare.
Yes.
The best was the double scare.
Oh my god. I was do not
Where
jump scare me. I was the worst.
where Jan literally almost had to have an AED used because she
My
went into
soul
cardiac
escaped to my
arrest.
body.
Oh my god. It was so we had a plan and we're like, Jan's coming. Like, let's make this happen. So we had our manager scare you in the break room.
Hmm.
And then I was outside of the break room. So once you got scared in there, I heard the whole thing. I'm laughing hysterically at Jan's misery.
Oh god.
Jan turns the corner out of the break room. I scare her again. And I was laughing so hard. It was
I
like,
just shrivel to the ground.
like part of me feels bad that we did that to you, but it was so funny.
God.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You remember there was like that one
And
position in our rotation downstairs,
yeah,
where there was a computer there and like,
that's what.
you know,
Excuse me?
yes, the whole excuse me, and like you're like, oh my god, what website was I on? Not that it would be anything like bad, but it's like, oh, let me like do a random quiz on BuzzFeed or
Yeah,
whatever. But
literally
like,
though, on
like,
incognito.
oh, excuse me, like yes, and you're like, oh, it's Emily.
I did that to so much so
Oh
that people
man,
started like they'd be like, "I see you coming," and they would watch me because they knew I was about to
like
try
on
to
high
do that to them.
alert.
Yeah, which
Yeah,
is
you could
good.
get me 100% of the time because obviously I'm not the most
Well,
self-aware.
wasn't there a time in like the elevator that you got scared really bad?
I mean, yes, I
Okay,
believe
I mean,
it.
I'm sure there was
I'm
times,
pretty
but
sure. Like, okay, I think I can remember the incident like vaguely, but
with and
yes,
yeah, what happened?
I can't even remember. I mean, like, I like, I get frightened by like the dumbest and like the easiest
No, okay, but
things.
so do I. Like our
It's
man,
more just the jump scare. It's
yeah,
not
no,
necessarily
that's
like
exactly it.
it's not even like scared, so to speak. It's more like I'm in a state
Fear.
of being, like I'm
Yeah,
focused on a task or I'm just not paying attention to whatever,
yeah.
and then something pops up and you're just like, oh, so yeah, that.
So our manager and I were close, and we got into a scare off because I got her so good.
Hmm.
One day I was literally on the ground. I got a rug burn, and she's like, "I don't feel bad for you," but I got a rug burn like scaring her from under a desk, and so that like led this thing. And she was always threatening me, like, "I'm gonna get you when you least expect it." I shit you not. I was afraid she was gonna come to my house. I was like, she
She
would.
does know where you
Yeah,
live.
exactly. I was like, she's gonna come to my house and she's gonna scare me like when I'm leaving for work on her day off or something. Or like she wrote a note and put it on my car that says be afraid.
Oh my god. Anyone else, you'd be like, what the fuck is this? But because it was her, you're like,
She
oh,
was like, I kept wait every time I went to the stairwell, I was like, she's gonna be here.
she's in the stairs.
I walked around in fear. She got me she came up behind me when I was working when I was concentrating at the computer, and she shook my desk chair and scared like I screamed, and then I backed the chair up and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna kill her. Like
Just
run
like
her over with this chair.
just in reverse on full
Yeah.
speed.
Because it's like when you get scared,
You
you don't
don't,
have
yeah,
control.
it's like fight or flight.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was like that's on the list of great times
Hmm.
was all those little antics and
Oh,
shenanigans.
so you were kind of talking about April Fools. Do you remember that April
Ah!
Fools when
Yes, I do.
one of our coworkers just put googly eyes everywhere?
And then decided to remain anonymous for a period of time. I'm
Hmm.
like, who did this? Who
Like we
did
didn't. It's not like we found out
this?
at the end of the day or the next day. No, it was like a while.
Significantly later. We were
Yeah.
like, oh, I knew it was him.
Hmm. That was a good time.
That was good. I have he put it like the googly eyes on the receipt printer.
We kept on like feeding receipt paper
Yeah,
and then
so
re-rolling it to
yeah.
look like it was spitting out
Yeah,
paper.
that was good.
Oh
That
god.
was and like on the doorknob. So it was like googly eyes so it looked like it was a thing.
Yeah, it looked like like a Muppet or something.
Yeah, it wasn't just randomly placed.
Yeah.
They were intentional.
It looks like faces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was the best.
Uh
And then management squashed it all
of
over it.
course. I mean, It's just a bit of fun.
Yeah.
But,
We're just trying to have camaraderie.
we're just trying to live.
Aw.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like at this point, if you were just gonna go visit casually as a guest,
Mhm.
would you be ready for that?
I can't. I've
Do you think it's just because it's now, or do you think just for an extended period of time?
I don't know if I ever can, but it's because not necessarily because it's bad blood, but it's just
Mhm.
that was a place that's I mean, maybe it was a little bad blood, but, like, that was somewhere I went every single day
Mm.
for so long, and, like, I have things memorized and so familiar,
Mhm.
and I don't know how I would react going back into a place where it's, like, different, but it's the same, if that makes
Mm.
any sense.
Yeah.
And then I know that, like, people that I don't like still work there,
Mhm.
and I've heard other people I can maybe I can tell you after, but people went back, and I've heard,
Oh.
like, bad
Mm.
stories of former employees going back and have being treated poorly.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that, that's just the reality. And
Yeah.
and yeah, I think I am similar to you. Like, I in my heart of hearts, I would like to go back.
I want it to be neutral. That's
Like,
the
I would
thing.
I would want, yeah, I would want it to be neutral. I would definitely want it to be a day where no one knows me,
Yeah.
you know? Um but it's like I'm not close with the people that I'm not particularly fond. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
I'm not close with them. That's why I'm not fond of them. But because, like, I don't have a I mean, like, I do have a personal connection with, like, some people, but they don't work the day to day. They're
Yeah.
not in the department that
The guest facing.
the guest
Yeah.
facing departments, right? So I feel like because of that, if I show up, it's a gamble. You don't know who's
Yeah.
going to be there, and I'm me personally, I'm just not ready for that
No.
because it's I don't want it to trigger like these
That's the thing.
things. And you know, I really loved the organization before working there, and it really is unfortunate that there is like that before and after
Yeah.
type of feeling. but
Yeah.
but yeah, I am hopeful that someday, not soon, but someday I would like to just go, and if not to reminisce,
Mhm.
just to like be in the space and remind myself why I
Mhm.
fell in love with that
Aw.
place to begin with,
That's a good
you
mentality to
know?
have. That's definitely, like, healthy. Like, that's like therapy
Mhm.
did that to you.
It's
Like
almost it's almost like, not so much facing my past, so to speak, but it's like,
Yeah.
I did genuinely enjoy it
Yeah.
for what it was before working there, and I don't want it to be sullied by like,
Yeah.
you
You're
know,
right.
these not so good
You're
memories.
totally right. I
So,
wish, like, for myself, I wish I could get to a place where I just didn't care. Like I said, like, I want it to be, like,
mhm.
neutral where it's just, like, it's a cool place to visit, but I don't think I can, like, push myself to that point of,
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I'm cool with this." I think I
Especially
just
when there are certain individuals still,
yeah, and,
you
like, the
know?
fear of running into them.
Mhm.
I went for a walk near it not that long ago, and I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh my god, what if I see them?" And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, ew." I'm
But
like, if
also,
I can't even be near it and be
yeah.
afraid of seeing these people, like,
Mhm.
I'm not going in.
Yeah. But also too, at the end of the day, I don't I don't think neutral ground is what to call it, but it is still like a place for the public. Like,
Yeah,
it's not any less our space than it is theirs
true.
just because we don't work there anymore, because it is a place where people can visit.
Mhm.
So I feel like, hopefully we can get to a point where even if we don't necessarily visit like, that the location like itself, but just to be in that area,
Yeah.
we don't need to be with that fear of, oh, am I going to see someone because they're like walking on their lunch break or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, like, because it's almost like, at least I don't know about you, but I see it as like, oh, it's like they're winning. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where if
They scared me
I'm
away.
yeah, if I'm like, yeah, they scared me away, so to speak. Where it's like, you didn't win.
Yeah.
Um, we're both fine.
Or girl
So,
bossing.
mhm,
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, maybe one day I can get to a place where I'm just like, whatever. Like, why am I so
mhm,
worried about it? But I'm still not there yet.
yeah,
It
same.
was too much on my heart
Mhm,
for me to just let it go easily, I
yeah,
guess.
mhm,
And it is a great place, and I'll never forget that. But it's just the
Mhm.
memories attached to it. Right now, I
Yeah.
can't. It's mixed, whereas
It's
I want to see
mixed.
just the good and go, oh,
Exactly.
I
There was
remember this. I
and,
love
I
this.
feel like a lot of what we talked about did focus on the challenges and the things that weren't
Hmm.
very positive, but there were good things
Oh,
that, like,
absolutely.
I can't stress, like, we cannot stress enough that there were and there are still a lot of good things about that
Hmm.
place. But I think, just the negatives really did affect us so
Hmm.
strongly that
Hmm.
there is still a strong association,
Hmm.
even with the amount of time that has passed.
Yeah.
So,
And I wish, think I said this, but I wish it was different. Like, I wish I could just be like, not caring,
mhm,
that it still has this like tiny hold over me,
mhm.
but it does. And that makes me sad. But
One day,
yeah,
yeah.
I have amazing friends from there.
Mhm,
That's the thing. It's like, if anything came out of that, like, look at us.
mhm,
I still hang out and talk to regularly with many people from there.
mhm,
Like, when I think about, oh, who am I going to invite, or who am I going to do this like special thing with? It's like 50% former coworkers.
mhm.
Like, that how does that happen?
Yeah, and see, and that's one thing I do miss about my current work situation is I don't have a sense of true camaraderie or friendship. It really is
Mhm.
like compartmentalized to like business type transaction or business type relationship because I
Mhm.
am work from home. I only really know people through the phone or
Yeah.
through like a Zoom call. So,
Mhm.
yeah, like I have no desire to meet with my coworkers outside
Yeah.
the capacity of work. So
Yeah.
so yeah, like sometimes I do miss that. Like, like really getting to know people
Mhm.
on like a human level and
Yeah.
like finding like just that connection and like,
Yeah.
things that we have in common and
Yeah. It
stuff like
was
that.
What's nice about that is that like a majority of us were of the same kind of age group.
Mhm.
So that definitely was something that was easy to bond us just
Mhm.
initially. Like,
We
oh,
were
we're all young
all
people.
yeah, we were all like at the time we were all basically like
20s.
like 20s, late
Yeah.
20s. So like
Later in the later time, it started to be people that were like more and more younger than us, and I'm like, oh my god,
mhm.
I'm a Granny Janny. It's just
Exactly.
like, oh my god, I would regularly say like, I feel like I'm like 58 years old. Like, I feel like I'm so old. And
Mhm.
then they kept getting younger and younger, and I'm just like, oh
And
my
it's
god,
like
my
what
back
a
hurts, and you guys are
yes.
like talking about things I don't know.
I know. So I'm like, what do you mean you have a midterm? Like what?
Yeah, exactly. Sounds like, what? School? Oh my
Oh,
god, I can't even
yeah.
relate like a little bit to that. But now every single person in my office is older than me, and I'm the youngest person there, and it's a weird
Do you like it or are
feeling.
you just like whatever?
It's whatever. I think personally, I think I work better with people that are older.
Mm.
Shout out. Um they're I don't know. There's sometimes they are like, "Oh, you wouldn't know. You're too young." And I'm like, that is the most annoying thing I could ever hear.
Mhm.
It's like, okay. Anyways,
Anyways, you're not exclusive in that feeling.
just like, you don't need to, I don't know.
uh,
But it's fine.
yeah.
I do have a coworker now. Reminds me so much of working at or I'll bleep that out. It reminds me so much of working where we did, because it's
Mhm.
just like where you're just like connected.
Yeah.
And I've said this in a different podcast that when you like work with people that you respect and care about,
Mhm.
the work is better.
Yes, the quality of work is definitely better. It's easier to do what you're supposed to do,
Yeah.
and you don't feel as tired at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
and you feel supported. Like,
Mhm.
you're having a bad day, or like you're not at your 100%, and somebody's got your back and they
Mhm.
care about you, you're just like, okay, like,
It just makes it a little less challenging. You're
yeah,
like,
it's
I
so
can do it.
important. I'll stress it till I'm retired, I guess, that
Mhm.
relationships with your coworkers, when you're in like a setting where you are working together.
Mhm.
Obviously, sometimes work from home, it's not the same thing, but
Mhm.
when you're in the office and you're working together, it's so important to like have that respect and
Mhm.
care, at least with one other person.
Yeah. Cuz I think your just quality of work life it just
Yeah,
improves significantly.
exactly.
It's like again, like going back to the camaraderie, it feels like you're just not alone. And I feel like at
Yeah.
the end of the day, knowing that there's someone going through something similar, or
Mhm.
it's just you don't have to face the thing by yourself, makes it less scary.
Exactly. Oh.
Mhm.
It's so true. But yeah, it's definitely a personality trait of mine to like love my coworkers
Mhm.
or a coworker or somebody. Like it's every place that I've worked, I've like had like a person or a few people that I'm like,
Mhm.
you're like, I love you.
It's
You
like
know?
it's like you and me, you're my people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I love that for me. Just wherever I end up, it's gonna happen again. I just know it. Like
Mhm.
I'm gonna find somebody that's like, you're now my friend. You're now a part of my life. And
Exactly.
it's so exciting
Mhm.
to think about all the people I haven't met yet. You
Oh,
know, like
I like thinking of it like that. All the friends that I have yet to make.
yeah.
Ah!
Okay, I think that's an amazing place to end the podcast. Thank you for listening, Jan. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me
Yeah,
again.
and we'll see you in the next episode. Wah, wah,
Bye.
wah.